Welcome to the program. If you stand too long without external support, you will either fall down to sleep or fall down to die. For 39 years, since its creation in 1985, the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, the CPDM as its name implies, has been moving. Every March, the 24th members, sympathizers and supporters of the party celebrate its anniversary. Press R is asking, at what pace is the CPDM moving and whether it is worth celebrating? If yes, what is the governing party celebrating? At 39, what is CPDM celebrating? That is our topic for Press R today, ladies and gentlemen, and you can be sure that we are going to question matters of governance, matters of peace, and matters of democracy in this program and see how far the CPDM has gone on this score. Albert Njembonde is a senior reporter. He is the head of the political service in CRTV Radio, and if you think that is because he's in CRTV, Albert doesn't blink when he wants to say things the way they are. Albert, you're welcome to Press R.
Thank you very much, and happy Palm Sunday.
Happy Palm Sunday to you and to all our viewers. Thank you for reminding me of that, Albert. Paul Anchang is a political analyst, and I tell you also, you will have just that from him. Paul, once again, we're happy to have you on Press R.
Thank you, Killian. Thank you, CIT, for having me. Happy Palm Sunday as well, just like my co-panelist Albert said. I think today we have a rich panel. Thank you for having me.
Dr. Tar Humphrey is a historian. He is also a political analyst, and I tell you, he writes so much and does things on peace, human rights, and democracy. You're welcome to Press R, Doctor.
Thank you very much, Killian. It's a pleasure to be here. Happy Palm Sunday.
Happy Palm Sunday to you. Mr. Fu Jonathan is a chargé de mission of the CPDM, and he is here to tell you how far the CPDM has come from 1985 when it was created in Bamenda. You're welcome, sir. We know that you have so much to talk about your party.
Of course, happy Sunday, happy Palm Sunday, happy celebration to all the militants of the CPDM was spread all around the whole republic.
And now it's time for press review. Yoti Akale Lesonge read the newspapers for Press R. Yoti.
Amongst the stories treated by the papers this week are articles on the election of the Permanent Bureau for the 2024 legislative year. Cameroon Tribune headlines, Parliament, election of Bureau awaited, highlighting the March 22, 2024 plenary session. Newswatch indicates that after the opening of the March session about 2 weeks ago, the stalled Bureau elections have paralyzed parliamentary business. The Median explains to readers that the delay is owing to the absence of the Senate President Nyat Jifenji, while noting that the hold-up in Parliament puts the nation at a standstill. According to the print media organ, President Biya was already contemplating a Plan B at the head of Parliament. Municipal Updates then lets the cat out of the bag, informing the readership that the Senate President is set to grab another mandate, publishing a picture of him in Geneva prior to his departure to Yaoundé on Saturday, March 16. And the Guardian Post confirms that Nyat has rushed home ahead of the Bureau elections after spending months abroad for medical treatment. The Horizon, however, captures members of the Parliamentary Network for Diaspora, Decentralized and Cross-Border Cooperation, intensifying the mission to bring back Cameroonian diasporas. Meantime, Cameroon Tribune spotlights CPDM party sympathizers bracing up for the 39th anniversary of the ruling party, whilst the Guardian Post celebrates Atanganji for being the head of state situation man. The same paper has a compilation of Dr. Fomunio's stance on the upcoming 2025 presidentials. Students in vocational and government technical schools also showcased their know-how this week, with the Minister of Secondary Education's challenge for youth to pursue skills-based education resounding. Progressive Comprehensive High School Mancon seizes the opportunity of an open day to announce on the horizon that they now offer technical education, What catches the attention of the Dawn newspaper in the education sector is the open business days in Buea, where the secondary education boss Nalova Lyunga streamlines the importance of digital transformation. The Voice, on its part, gives a detailed account on the attack at Government High School Way in Menchum Division of the Northwest region, with stakeholders condemning the attack as seen on municipal updates. On the Herald Tribune, the audience is told that the Bamenda City Council Market Project scandal has taken a new twist. Meanwhile, the Chronicle Times is keen on the Minister of Territorial Administration restating his position against habitations on the Bankolo disaster site. The papers equally mentioned the internet disruptions plaguing the nation, disclosing that the Minister of Post and Telecommunications has outlined guidelines to address the situation. News on the state extending tax payment deadlines amid nationwide internet outages also occupied newspaper columns. Nonetheless, cocoa farmers are happy. The price per kilogram of cocoa has hit 5,000 CFA francs, 4 times more than in Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana, newspapers divulge. Other topics like that on Fecafoot and the global issue of double identities in football, likewise details on the playoffs of the Elite One Championship, made news this week.
Thank you very much, Yoti Kale Lesonge. Ladies and gentlemen, you just joining us. This is Press Hour, and we are broadcasting live from CRT Production Center here in Balatu in Yaoundé. And our topic is at 39. What is CPDM, Cameroon People's Democratic Movement, celebrating? If you doubt, you will know. But if you think that there is nothing really to celebrate, you will also know just from this panel. We're going to handle this topic from all angles. You just watch press review done by Yoti, and there are certain things we talk about, we just choose two. And I'm going to call on the pressman who is here with us, Ben Jembonde, to take one of the two topics. I don't know which one you're going to choose from the lot, so we just discuss in about 3 minutes.
It's true that Parliament is interesting, but I guess the others will have much more to say about that. Charity begins at home. Fako boils. Yes, I do agree with the Municipal Updates newspaper, because I think that the random creation of chiefdoms in that division is a major problem. It's a threat to peace and social cohesion, because I think it's a violation of the legal provisions, the law of 1977 governing the chieftaincy institution in Cameroon. Kilian, you understand, when father and son are chiefs of two different villages, when two brothers are validated by the administration to be traditional rulers of two different villages, it is a problem. And we understand that all of that is linked to land surrenders done by the CDC, which were suspended, but which the administration continue to press on the throat of the CDC and the people of Fako Division. As elections get closer, I can tell you that it is a major threat to social cohesion in that part of the country.
Yeah, you do well to raise that point. I was talking with someone yesterday. This is what the person was saying, and I agree with that person. The population of every locality belong to the traditional rulers. Actually, to the traditional rulers. The administrators are just there to, look for administrative things and the rest. The people belong to their tradition, to their customs, and the custodians of those traditions are those chiefs. And that someone is chief, the son is chief, can only be a source of conflict. And we think that in Boyas, where I know, and where you come from Bokwango, just up there, I bet there is no problem there, because it is part hereditary, some kind. When someone dies, the son takes over. It is what happens in the grass fields, so to say, west, northwest, and even part of the southwest in Libya. So there we don't have this type of thing. And when Anchang, I should just say you have an idea. When this happens, it is good to point that out and raise those points, because as Albert is saying, can become a social and a traditional problem.
Sure. Thank you very much. It is very important. It can become a social and traditional problem, but also for consciousness, it's important that administration be aware as well. I think at the level of the Ministry of Territorial Administration, I think such a headline is very important. It will be taken into consideration, but also just to reassure the population to understand that in administration there's also review, and if there's a review, which means there's a possibility for correction. So of course we live in a society where not everything is perfect, where there are some imperfections, but when there's a call for review where the justifications are clear without a doubt, and where there won't be, where in terms of the consciousness of the population, in terms of the culture and the tradition and the customs of the people may be tarnished, then it calls for administration to definitely come into place to be able to look into the matter further. Now, administrators and administrative authorities are there in place to regulate. They are not there in place to be able to cause more problems. So if in that particular way we're talking of the case of Fako, it's not throughout the national territory, but if in the case of Fako, there's definitely a problem, I think just to reassure the population, it is true that at the level of territorial administration, therefore something will be done to be able to rectify that.
If you say that we believe you, we are reassured, and we know that the minister himself is a no-nonsense person. He's going to look into it, and we pray that he handles that thing, because if it goes out of hand, it is good for more person in our country. Yes, Dr. Tar Humphrey, when we have land issues, the ministries involved, the different competent administrations should come in and make sure that individuals don't come up to create chaos. Fako has been a problem, and as the newspaper says, it boils. We should not allow the boiling water to overflow.
Yeah, thank you very much. To see something on that, I will say that most of our administrators, they meddle into politics, custom and tradition of people, of the people. The administrators should act as ombudsman. They should do their job. They should not create, because the issue in Fako, they create villages, create chiefdoms. It's not good. They are sent there to do their work, not to enter into things that don't concern them. So to me, it's administrators.
The administration has the right to create, but what we are denouncing is the way they create that can bring up things like the one we're talking about. It's actually the role of the administration to create.
That is it.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Jonathan, you also are someone close to traditional issues. So when it's like that, it is different from what happens in other places in the country.
Effectively, the problems of chieftaincies they occur all over the country, and they are more accentuated in our grassfield areas, where we find villages cropping up every day. But what we know is that the truth is somewhere. It is because those involved, be them those who are fighting to become chiefs, hide the truth, or the authorities, they condone, accept and encourage falsehood. The case of Fako is a very particular case and a very glaring one. We can't say in our tradition two brothers can rule two villages. It is so glaring, and I think it's important to look into these matters and come out with the truth. If they don't bring out the truth, it's going to bring chaos, and until the truth comes out, they will not find peace. So if we want to have peace, let the truth be put on the table.
Thank you very much. We are going to take special interest in that issue, and we are also following up what's happening in Northwest in Meta, because there is a similar thing, not actually same family, but something also coming up that could cause some social disorder in Meta, a tribe in the Northwest region. We're going to study these cases and see how we can handle them in some of our issues of press hour. I mean, now we've already had about 16 minutes of other things. We should go into our topic of today, which is at 39, what is the CPDM celebrating? Today is the 24th of March, and on the 24th of March 1985 in Bamenda, the CPDM was created. To replace CNU, Cameroon National Union. That was changed from that party CNU to the CPDM. And I should also underline, before we go into some debate, so people don't raise that issue again, when the CPDM was created in 1985, there's a clause there that says that all the supporters, the members of the CNU, were automatically carried over to be members of the CPDM. So when we are arguing, we should not raise this because it is clear right now. I'm going to ask, it's only from you, Mr. Fu Jonathan, you are an official in that party, a chargé de mission. What do we have to celebrate? What is the CPDM celebrating?
Of course, Kilian, every 24th March, the CPDM militants celebrate. And it's true, Cameroonians used to always ask, what are we celebrating? We're celebrating a lot. The party is 39 years old now, and 39 years, not 39 months, not 39 weeks, it's a long time indeed. And the party has been in power consistently for 39 years. And we are celebrating unity. We're celebrating peace. We're celebrating economic growth and social growth. We're celebrating democracy. We're celebrating public liberties and so on. Why do I say this? Because it is difficult to detach the CPDM from its chairman, President Paul Biya, who is the president and the creator of this party. In fact, when the CPDM was created in 1985, you said it before, the CNU was the party that was in this country and was a single party. We had just one party, and the CPDM came in 1985, and now the chairman of the party came with a new vision, with a new ideology, with a new approach, and his vision was clearly expressed in that book, Communal Liberalism, where he talked of liberalizing our country, democratizing our country, decentralizing, bringing economic and social development. And this is, you can be able to see it from the day the party was created up to this moment. And if you want to ask what we're celebrating, it's important to compare, to carry a comparison, to look through from 1985 to this moment, and look at the various pillars. If you look at public liberties, we'll say that's one major development. Today we have public liberties, unlike what has happened with the single party system. I don't want to go to the details of telling you how many newspapers, how many television houses and so on.
Yes, we're
talking of democracy.
Let us look at that point.
Yes.
Public liberties. Public liberties include the freedom of expression, freedom of the press. You are talking about freedom of political parties. And some people think that the CPDM, your party, has intentionally, with overwhelming power that it has, crushed political parties from coming to compete on a level playing ground when it comes to political issues.
I would say that is completely false. False because in Cameroon today we have more than 250 political parties.
I think there should be 369.
Close to 300 political parties.
68, 69.
Anyone in this country is free to create this party and perform on the field and carry out your activities as you like. Unfortunately, those who create political parties have no vision, they have no program, they have no plans. They just create a political party.
And we are told that your government does not give them the authorization even to just hold meetings.
I think
I'm talking about meetings, not actually rallies, but meetings in the sense of it.
Are given to whoever requests them, so long as these authorizations are in line with the regulations in force. We can't authorize people to carry activities which may have an effect on public peace. In fact, if you want to carry on a manifestation, you are free to request and present your authorization to the authorities, and you will be authorized to carry activities. But if behind your activity the authorities discover that what we want to carry out may have an impact on public peace and public order, I think they have every reason to stop it. This is just what is happening. I think everything is regulated and the laws are very clear on that.
Another thing you said is that from creation is the national chairman, your champion who is the president, the lone president, and that at one point the party and the chairman are the same thing. I think you said something like that, not in my words. So is that not enough reason for people to think that you confuse the party with the republic, with the state, including so many other things like the public treasury and your party coffers and so many other things?
The CPDM is a political party and functions according to the laws that regulate political parties in our country. It's not the only party. We said there are so many parties who equally have their own structures, they have their own presidents, chairmen, and so on. Unfortunately, the CPDM is the ruling party, and it happens that the chairman of the party is at the same time the head of state. But there's a clear distinction between state activities and the party activities. We're talking of confusing the funds. I would say no, because the CPDM has the majority, and the CPDM has mechanisms to raise monies to run its political party, and this is what is being done. The numbers, the CPDM core is in all the parts of this country, in all the divisions, subdivisions, all the villages, you will find the CPDM. In numbers, the CPDM has the greater number than any other political party. So they have the capacity to raise funds through their militants. They have all the big business people who are supporting the party. They support the party with funds. The militants themselves contribute to run the party and so on. So if the CPDM has enough money, it's because their numbers too are there. The quality of the militants is equally there. Then they can be able to function.
The next issue we're going to handle, you said you are celebrating peace and unity. But before we get to that, we have a whole panel. I'm going to go around to the three other panelists and then let them react to the first point that you've made, beginning with the political analysts, beginning with you, Paul.
Definitely. Thank you. I think you're asking a very pertinent question, because the caption, the topic is, what are we celebrating? From a political analysis standpoint, mind you, political science is a human science as well, where we're talking about day-to-day lives and human lives. And so when you associate it with political activities, then you will understand that, just like he rightly said, 39 years is not 3 days, not 39 months either, which means from 1985 to present, the CPDM political party over 39 years has gone through ups and downs. So that's what you'll be judging it on. But what's the content? What are the components in terms of political science that equal this to be able to be either celebrated with enthusiasm, just as the circular says from the Secretary General of the party, with enthusiasm in reference to the national president? Because mind you, you rightly asked a question here. Is there a difference between government activities and then the party? Because the party seems to be the majority in power, and also because that's the regime. Now you have to understand that to be able to for a regime to come into place, you have universal suffrage, and that's won by a party as well. So you need a political party, a political association to be able to actually mandate yourself to carry out yourself to be in that frame, which gives them the reason to be able to, at the bicameral level, as well as the upper house and the lower house, to be able to put forward their candidates. So now when you look at what are they celebrating? I think from my own political standpoint, they are celebrating the ups and downs. What do these ups and downs entail? You talk about militantism. You talk about presence over the national territory. You talk about how long, in terms of their militantism, in terms of their victories, in terms of also the political battles which they have gotten. Now, when we talk about 1990s, from 1985 to the 1990s, where you see a return to multi-party politics, you would realize that the CBN political party actually had a transformation, whereas other political parties in themselves were actually also in introspect trying to find themselves as well, where there's a mindset change, where the president of the party says we should be ready for competition. What happens in that particular point is, if you are not convincing as a national president and as a leader, and if you are not dynamic, your party militants will not equally follow you. So therefore, to usher in a new mindset of competition, and you will rightly see that maybe from the CNU, where there was more likely what the party go in a single party mindset, what the party says we are there, to a competitive party mindset where you now locally see that there are sections, subsections, WCPDM, YCPDM, and what is the message and the ideology that has been put in place. Now we have talked about, just like he rightly said, the Charge de Mission allocated to the fact of communal liberalism. For those back at home to be able to have a take home, what does that entail? It entails rigor, it entails moralization. But what does this really mean? It means that in terms of the party discipline, in terms of the ideology, in terms of being closer to the populations who they count on for their votes, they have to be able to let them know what are their problems and be able to be, in terms of their candidates, be representative enough to convince them that the votes that they are giving are representative of themselves. Now, it is true some may question how many people do vote or not. But the question is, do they win the vote? Do they win the majority at the ballot? And so when you answer that question, you'll be able to realize that in terms of
Since you raise that point,
right,
those people who question are raising the issue of legitimacy and legality.
Right.
And legitimacy should have precedence over legality in an evenly democratic environment,
right,
where you know, okay, we are 30 million people in Cameroon today.
Right.
You should have about 9 or 7 to 10 million who vote for you.
Right.
Yes. So when you raise that, are you saying it's an achievement?
It's an achievement.
Given that we know that we have about 3 million people out of 30 who vote.
Sure, it's an achievement, but I don't want people back at home to take home to be a subjective achievement. It's an achievement in political science because there's an evolution. When we talk about 1985, we talk about the population that was about 9 to 10 million. We are talking about 30 million, which means over time, the duration of time, that political party has been able to build its platform over the national territory and ingrain itself with its ideology and ingrain itself with the leadership that they understand and making people adhere to that leadership. So you have people who necessarily, if you go to maybe the nooks and crannies of the national territory, if you ask them who's CPDM, if you ask them if they know CPDM, they will say yes. But if you go into the nooks and crannies, into rural areas of throughout the national territory, if you ask them about some other political parties, they might not know. So the issue is not whether or not a political party has been able to evolve to be able to preach its ideology, but whether or not throughout the national territory it has been able to evolve. So if you look at it for 39 years, that is a lot of work. It's not one day. So if over 39 years you have been able to evolve towards the national territory with ups and downs and electoral challenges and battles with your ideology, therefore there is a staple. Therefore there is a belief and there is a convincing of the population that through this party and through this leader we see our way forward.
Albert is a senior reporter in CRTV. Albert is the head of the political service in CRTV Radio. Albert speaks politics from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and he sleeps and dreams politics. Albert, your reaction to what has been said?
Well, I liked the question you just asked about legality and legitimacy. And I think that if you go by the circular of the Secretary General of the CPDM Central Committee, he says that this celebration should be used as an opportunity to woo more eligible voters. That is to tell you that even though it is the party that is majority in power, they also have that issue of how far have we gone? Because in a country of about 30 million, if already we have just 7 million plus in the electoral registers, there's a problem. If out of the 7 million, the winner of the presidential election has 2-3 million, there's a problem. So, like you said, it's an ongoing process. And when I talk about, I want to look at what the CPDM is celebrating. It's a matter of whether you're looking at it from the standpoint of a glass that is half filled or half empty. They are celebrating as supporters or members of the party a glass that is half filled. So it depends on where you stand. Critics of the CPDM will look at it from the standpoint of a glass that is half empty. He's talked about political stability, economic and social resilience. Globally, that's how I summarize what he said. A critic of the CPDM could come and say, because we have inadequacies in water supply, in electricity, in roads, garbage disposal in 2024. Let me finish.
Yes.
In 2024 is a problem. Those are realities. And those are challenges that the CPDM at 39, as a party that is closed to power, should be looking at. Still, Mr. Jean Kwete talked about a strong party in a strong state. Those are the challenges that the CPDM has. And believe you me, in 39 years, if I want to give you factors that have kept or maintained the CPDM in power, I'll also blame the opposition. Because to me, there are fractures in the CPDM that the opposition has been unable
to take
advantage on. I'll give you, for instance, recent developments. They are talking about political transition. If you go by what that word means, it means a disruption of the order. A political transition may not necessarily mean through the ballot box. It's a problem. We are on the eve of major elections in Cameroon. When your message is not clear, you disperse and distract potential voters. You are potential voters. During this period, the CPDM is focused on its message, on its strategy. It has an organization. It's a party that has national representation.
Okay.
What the opposition may not have. Then in all of that, your message is not clear. At the same time, you want people to go and register to prepare for future elections. At the same time, you are talking about political transition, which may not be necessarily through the ballot box. So to me, it's a problem.
Thank you, Dr. Ta Humphrey. Do you see some other fractures? You know, we're still going to go to some of the things that Mr. Fru Jonathan listed as the achievements. He talked of peace. He talks of unity. We'll come to all of those things and talk about. But let us try to end with this first wave of...
Thank you very much, Killian. CPDM at 39, the father of moral, rigor and moral
values,
President Paul Biya. The CPDM, as a political party, they can celebrate. For me, I will try to divide my presentation in two phases. The first phase, 1985, right up to 1995. The CPDM can celebrate because we had a buoyant economy between 1985 to 1995. After 1995, up to this period, they don't have anything to celebrate. Cameroon democracy is at crossroads. Illusion of multi-party politics. You are a player and at the same time you are a referee. That is why CPDM has remained in power for 39 years. We want a level ground for other political parties, like Abe Njemo, they said, for other political parties to vie for positions, to vie. But the CPDM, there's no transparency. There's no transparency.
That's an accusation that I just forward to you, Mr. Jonathan. No transparency.
Well,
transparency is part of governance. Now, when you talk about governance, which your party should make sure that they have that value, that virtue of governance to celebrate. When you are not transparent, there will be issues of corruption, there will be issues of human rights that are not respected. There will be so many other issues under transparency.
Well, I don't know from what angle he's talking about transparency, because the CPDM is functioning in a state which is well structured, well organized. The institutions are functioning normally. We have the legislature, we have the judiciary, we have the executive wing, who are functioning with each one controlling each other. So our laws are voted in Parliament democratically. The judiciary is there to follow up and ensure that these laws are respected, and the executive function. So where does the transparency come?
That is actually where the question is. What you have said we're okay with that. By citing that, we're asking also when the executive brings out the policy, the legislative votes, and then the judiciary is supposed to make sure at their different levels that those who do not respect the law are punished. And they said that they should be punished, as he said, justice delayed is justice denied.
But, Killian, I think that is what is happening in our country. Justice delayed, well, we may have cases of lapses, which normally can happen, but what we know is that our judicial system is functioning, the courts are functioning, people who have problems take them to court, and they are tried and sanctioned and so on. The National Assembly is there, the Senate is there, all the examining laws that govern our country. So if you want to complain, then you should be able to tell us exactly where you find that there's a problem with transparency. We have an electoral system, a political system, where we vote our officials in a transparent environment. We vote through transparent boxes. Everybody can vote. So we have an independent electoral body that is there to manage the elections.
And then
so
we cannot escape party discipline, because when you come to the open to vote, what you're talking about, you have already given instructions from the background, which means that people don't actually come and vote for who they want, but for the person that the central committee or administration of your party pushes down on their throat.
It's because the CPDM is an orderly party, organized party. Discipline you find in any organization. How will you function without discipline? You cannot function in disorder. There's a lot of discipline in the CPDM, and the guidelines are given by the national chairman, and the guidelines which don't go against the interests of the militants, and they follow these guidelines. So this discipline helps to keep the party together and help the party to get victories.
You were just itching. You wanted to point out something, Albert,
yes,
on that particular point.
I wanted to point out something in reaction to what Doctor said a while ago. I think it's important to understand where are we coming from to be where we are. It's territorial administration that was organizing elections before, went O'Neill 1, O'Neill 2, adoption of the electoral code, which was a giant leap. We have tested that electoral code
since 2012.
Yes, the CPDM has maintained its lead. Yes, there are shortcomings to that electoral code which nobody can deny. I think even in one of the symposiums of the Bilingualism Commission, they raised the issue on the necessity to review certain provisions of the electoral code. But I think that we need to salute how far we have gone. Opposition political parties in the course of our political evolution have been able in certain places to put a stiff resistance against the CPDM. It's only recently that the CPDM can boast of the Northwest region and certain parts of the Southwest, like Meme Division. The CPDM still has a lot of trouble in some parts of the three northern regions. The Adamawa region is still under the firm grip of the NUDP party. The NUN continues to be a CDU stronghold. The Mayokane continues to be a stronghold of Mr. Dakole Daisala's MDR, and you have pockets of areas like that I think should be a ray of hope, and that's why I keep talking about political opportunism, and instead of being pessimistic and defeatist to say the CPDM is the player and the referee, I think that there are possibilities of crumbling the CPDM in certain places. The problem is, what is the organization of the opposition? What is their message? How are they packaging their message? How are they presenting it to the public? How are they making sure the cry of a majority of critics of the CPDM and the regime is that to be able to send across a message that is clear, understandable, comprehensive, is that the opposition should unite, and why not present a unique candidate? The question is, are they willing? Are they able? Are there not so many greedy and other personality egos that come above this general code.
Yes.
These are the issues. Because I really think if the CPDM is celebrating, I think the CPDM should celebrate the fact that despite its own shortcomings, it's been able to keep itself as an election-winning machine. Let me give you an example. Something that could disperse CPDM supporters is this issue of designation of candidates by the Central Committee.
That's exactly
the grassroots, what they call militants, I use grassroots members and sympathizers. Honestly, from what I know, don't like that procedure because they think it bars popular and popular candidates and some supporters who have been there for the party even in those days when it was difficult to wear the party uniform. These are avenues where the opposition could take advantage.
And come in.
But they are not doing that.
Yes. Are you helping?
No.
Are you helping?
Certain points.
Okay.
What he said, because he talks about designating candidates.
The investiture that you have.
If
That's the
that
word.
used to happen several years behind, today it doesn't happen at all. The candidates of the CPDM are chosen at the base. In fact, what the Central Committee does, the National President does, is to put in place the circular that defines the conditions for you to be a candidate, and the choice is left with the militants at the base.
I want to give you just examples. We have people who have been sanctioned by the party because
they did not obey.
They did not obey, and the grassroots voted
for them. And there are someone to the Central Committee where they are
the choice of candidates is done by the militants, and this is done following rules or guidelines that are given by the Central Committee. On no occasion will the Secretary General of the party send a name to the militants to choose. That cannot happen. It doesn't happen again today. So I don't know where your example is from or which example you're talking about.
His example is this. The candidate that the Central Committee sends to people is not actually the popular person. It's not the person.
They don't send. The Central Committee never sends anyone. The choice, the Central Committee gives the rules, the guidelines, the conditions. They even go as far as saying you must have this number of men, this number of women, this number of youths. The candidate should have this profile, and so that's all the Central Committee.
I like your ingenuity to twist that point.
No, then they allow the militants to choose, and the choice is done by the militants.
No, we have those situations where I give you for instance the city mayor of Edea.
Yes,
it's a glaring case of a man who, from every indication, benefited from popular support.
Yes.
And looks like Yaoundé didn't want
him?
That was a choice, and
was he voted?
And obviously he was voted.
Of course. Now when we vote,
and he won.
If the candidate was voted, it's a democratic election. Then why do you say it's impossible?
And then we also have cases where the quota of youth representation and female representation.
Yes.
Mr. Kwete comes to that aspect all the time because at the grassroots in the cases of choices and
they need youth and
they have to encourage the youths, have to encourage the women, but they don't give you a name. They will not give you a name.
Fine, we are talking to people who are Cameroonians and they know exactly what happens in their communities. So whatever thing we are saying here, they know the reality. We're just going to see how we can handle those things. Remember, one of the things that you talked about is peace. Another one is unity, and we know how those two are threatened right away. We cannot close this program without talking about that. But you had not even exhausted all the points for which you are celebrating. We met one other person who is in the Leke division, is an elite of the Leke division, who also has so many other things that he has to tell us that gives them reason for the CPDM to celebrate. He is Serge Njana Esala. It's a young man, and what we're talking about, let us watch him. It's just a matter of a minute.
Le RDPC est un parti qui a réalisé beaucoup de choses dans notre pays nous ne pouvons pas les énumérer totalement. Mais si nous prenons sur le plan des infrastructures,
the CPDM has accomplished so many things in our country that we cannot list in one sitting. Look at infrastructure, for example. We have football world-class stadia. We have moved from a few high schools to a level where every subdivision has government, general and technical high schools. Equally, every region has a state university with 2 in the center. It is the same in health. There is a regional hospital in every region in addition to a litany of subdivisional health centers. You have other important infrastructure such as the Kribi Autonomous Deep Sea Port linked up to a motorway. Lompanga, Menvele, Mekin and Nashiga dams will boast energy use in generations. Let us now talk about the Lekki, my division of origin, which has become a project site with the CPDM in power. One of the professional departments of the University of Ebolova has just been constructed in Monatele, the capital of the Lekki division. We can cite the Nashiga Dam in Bachenga, a big bridge that links the Lekki to the Mbam and Inobu division. Equally, the Yaoundé-Douala motorway passes through Lobo in our division. In a few minutes, you can leave the Lekki to Bumyebel. At Nkolmelen, there is this bypass that leaves no one indifferent as to its stature and usefulness. Already, River Sanaga has moved to Yaoundé through a water supply project that has employed so many youths of the area. With all these realizations and many more, we have to celebrate 39 years of the CPDM. So we of the CPDM in the Lekki all strongly rally behind the President of the Republic, His Excellency Paul Biya, who is the national president of the party. I take advantage of this program to say thank you to our party leaders in the Lekki, Minister Henry Eyebe Aisi, Minister Benyuan Dongsumet, and the Secretary of State, Galaxy Toga, who are pulling along and grooming the youth of Lekki.
Et le ministre Dongsumet qui tiennent des mains de maître la jeunesse de la Lekki.
Wow. That's someone who is listing what the CPDM has done in their community, which is the Lekki division. If I were to ask everyone, they will tell us that this is what has happened, this is what has happened in their place. But I think also that that is so simplistic because the CPDM could not be in power and things will not happen. So we are looking at how far we've gone. You talked about peace, you talked about democracy, we talked about public liberties, and we started talking about public liberties. I think we're going to talk about peace right now. When you say we're celebrating peace, before 2013, we went into war with Boko Haram in the Far North region in 2013. I think it was in April when the president officially declared war against Boko Haram, the terrorist sect in the Far North region that did a lot of harm to us, migrating from our neighboring countries. Then, when the crisis in the Northwest and Southwest started, the first phrase and the guiding phrase that Cameroon had was, Cameroon was an oasis of peace in a turbulent sub-regional zone. When you say we are celebrating peace, are we celebrating the same peace? I think we have problems that we cannot be celebrating peace now.
Well, I still hold that we're celebrating peace. In fact, we admit that if we have some threats to our peace, these threats came something like 8 years. I mean, major threats, we can put it that way. Something like 8 years. Before then, for more than 30 years, Cameroon had been a very peaceful country. And in any country, in any environment, peace has always been a threat. It's not only the case of Cameroon. Many countries have lived in war. Israel, Palestine, Chad, and so on. So, but the case of Cameroon is a particular case because the challenges are there. It's a challenge. But at the same time, we have a leader, the President of the Republic, who is equal to the task. Because we've had external threats like from Bakassi. We see how he has handled it. Today, we have Boko Haram. We see how the President has handled it. Now there is a Northwest and Southwest crisis which is gradually reducing, and we see the efforts of the President to handle this crisis. So we shouldn't say that because the peace is threatened, it means that there's no peace. No, the peace is there, the President is there, the institutions are there fighting, and doing everything to ensure that total peace comes into our country.
Thank you.
So far, the challenges have been faced.
Thank you. I like that answer, but I wanted you, would like the political analyst to take it further by explaining, because even at the time that we did not have the crisis and some of this conflict that we have today, many people came to platforms, outlets like the one we have now, and said that, and warned, I should even say, that we do not have social justice in Cameroon and it could lead to something else. Can we say the peace that we are celebrating is not actually solid? That's why issues of social justice brought that up.
Thank you very much for the question. It's a very sensitive question because peace is very broad in its terminology. And when we go into, if you actually look at it in a geopolitical standpoint, a political party might not necessarily be responsible for the guarantee of peace because it addresses an issue of sovereignty in that nature. So when we look at some of the conflicts that we have, irrespective of the fact that the regime was in place or not in place, I think we'll still have those security threats which will threaten peace of the nation. I think also we also have to give an anthropological look and as to what Cameroon is as a people and as a population, which means within the 10 different regions, within their ethnicities and within their traditional values and customs and within their religions as well, what has transpired. So the connotation of peace in a political sense on a day-to-day activity for people in terms of how they vote and in terms of the candidates they vote would actually give more meaning to the fact that if they see a leader who is dynamic and who throughout the conflicts has led them, there's a tendency that they would vote. Reason why, if you look into history, most presidents who have taken countries to war remain as presidents.
Okay.
Because there is that precedent that the population feels safe and secure with that president that will keep them throughout that conflict. So peace in itself doesn't necessarily address a political association. But now when we look at social justice in itself, which is a smaller tangent than that, which addresses I will look at social challenges and difficulties which populations as a whole go through. Now,
yes, so some people give things like the needs of the people as components of ingredients of social justice.
Sure.
So,
and that's where it becomes tricky when we associate it with the CPDM party, because I think it is very, I'll give a glaring example. When you look at most political associations, they don't necessarily have their women's wings and the youth wings, which are as advanced as the CPDM political party, which means that within these youth wings and these women wings, they have a message which they preach to their bases. Now, if you look at the other political parties, do they necessarily have this adherence with these youth wings or these women wings within their political party? Which means that when you are addressing social injustices, are the social injustices addressed towards the government or are they addressed towards the political party? It is true.
The party is the governing party in a state.
Mind you, just for me, for people back at home to understand, there is a universal suffrage that the political party carries and gives the mandate towards a president to be able to become the president of the country. But now, in terms of government activities, now it is a component that reunites all government actors, and they could be from the social platform, they could be from the private sector. So definitely, when we talk of social justice, because I would like to come just a little bit, quickly to the transparency issue, because when we talk of social,
much time.
When we talk of social justice,
4 minutes, and we have to go around the table.
Okay, when we talk of social justice, it hits also with the transparency. Now, the question with transparency is you have to be explicit. Where is it coming from? Because as a general assumption, there's that transparency inequalities all around the world. But when you're talking of transparency, you have to be explicit so that way you can associate it with a problem and a solution.
Yes, I bet the Serge Njana is Sela, who is a youth and he is an elite. A member of the CPDM elite of Leke is talking about the CPDM is celebrating infrastructure. In 1 minute.
He is fortunate to come from a division that has elite who are of the governing class and they can regulate some of those things. The question is what happens to those areas where you don't necessarily have those elite? It becomes problematic. I think that when we talk about peace, like infrastructure, peace, for instance, doesn't necessarily mean the absence of guns and bullets. You know, we are talking today of price hikes. If you are not sure to feed your family, you are not at peace with yourself. I think what a party could do like a party that is well structured like the CPDM, it's power to advise the governing class on what it sees as possible solutions to some of the problems that we have. And that's where once again I say the opposition, every political party becomes a moral voice of the nation as a whole. So what are the solutions they are proposing to questions of infrastructure, to questions of peace and security? Well, how do they brandish their message towards making sure that sons and daughters of the country do not feel like some are advancing, others are regressing or are stagnant, or some parts of the country are having development projects and others are not? So
thank you.
All of these are questions that a political party should be able to
raising that. I have a friend who is from the Adamawa, that is a whole region, who has been reminding me that the Adamawa region does not have a minister
with a portfolio.
A whole region of the Adamawa. So those are some of the things that could, in that transparent manner, be handled so that people don't feel. And you cited Adamawa. It's an opportunity for this party to appoint those big people there to take the terrain from NUDP. Now, Doctor, in 1 minute, please, because we will give the last word to Mr. Fru Jonathan. What do you think that could be done by the CPDM in terms of democracy for us to get out of?
Yeah, in terms of democracy, I want to say that Killian, the CPDM, the ruling party, the 8-year war in the Southwest and the Northwest, something should be done because our people are suffering. They should not turn a blind eye on what is happening in the Northwest and Southwest.
Okay.
If this problem is not solved, I don't think Cameroonians will be happy. We are for one and indivisible Cameroon, but the problem in the Northwest and Southwest should be looked upon.
Yes, I like the way you end it. You didn't say the people of the Northwest and Southwest will be angry. You have said Cameroonians. I like the approach you have used. Now, Mr. Fru Jonathan, the last word is yours. Now, what solutions do you think that your party at 39 can bring to this country?
Well, just that the party has to go ahead and continue to implement that program which our national chairman had put in place. And to do this, it's a collective effort. It's not a question of waiting on the president to take an action to build a road, a hospital. No, I think it is all of us have to be involved. He's talking about the problems of Northwest and Southwest. Of course, the government is doing its best. The military are there to protect the population. The president has called for dialogue and so on. The population too has to come in to help the government to be able to solve their problems. So
thank you.
It's not the matter of the chairman of the party, it's the matter of all of us putting our heads together to ensure that we move forward.
Thank you very much. At 39, what is the CPDM party celebrating? That is the topic we handled in the past 1 hour. And you watch us here on the set. Benjamin Bonde is the senior reporter, head of political service in the CRTV radio. Paul Anchang, political analyst. Dr. Ta Humphrey, historian, political analyst, and Mr. Fru Jonathan, who is the chargé de mission in the CPDM. If you missed out on anything on this program today, ladies and gentlemen, you'll catch up fully on Monday at 2:30 when you have a rebroadcast. On the behalf of the production team, I say thanks for watching.